the DA sufficiently ponder the motion to dissolve Parliament? Why did COPE oppose the DA's call for an early election? Who has the constitutional mandate to initiate an impeachment process? And why are opposition parties calling for a fact-finding ad hoc inquiry into the Nkandla debacle? What time is it? It's question time. Khotsong and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho. Efforts by the DA to remove President Jacob Zuma continue. Early last month, the DA lost the 8th motion of no confidence in President Zuma. The motion made headlines after Speaker Baleka Mbete ruled that the motion be decided through a secret ballot. Yesterday, the DA lost a motion to have Parliament dissolved and a national election called. In another development, the Constitutional Court reserved judgment on whether Parliament should initiate impeachment proceedings against President Zuma. Parties including the EFF, UDM and COPE argue that no action was taken against the President following the highest court in the land's ruling in March last year. The highest court in the land ruled that President Zuma failed to uphold, defend and respect the Constitution. They maintain that the Speaker has a constitutional duty to ensure accountability and impartiality to help this matter to rest. They are also calling for an ad hoc inquiry into the Nkandla homestead. We are live and therefore you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 0891104210. Our Twitter handle at QuestionTime24. My guest today, Ntutugo Dumagute, is the Chief Operations Officer for the Congress of the People, that is COPE, and Makashule Ghana is the spokesperson of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs in the DA Gauteng Legislature. But before we get into the show, let's take a look at what the IFP and UDM Chief Whips had to say about the motion to dissolve Parliament.
Honourable Chairperson, allow me at the outset to be perfectly clear and state that the IFP does not support this motion. Why? The outcome of the motion of no confidence a few weeks ago was a seminal moment in the history of this Parliament. It proved that it is not only members in the opposition, but also some members of the ruling party and the alliance who understand that South Africa cannot prosper either socially or economically under the present leadership.
Fellow South Africans, House Chair and honorable members, the United Democratic Movement I deputize will not support this motion. We must, however, consider that this motion and the debate currently underway is not isolated from the proceedings currently underway in the Constitutional Court. It has its genesis in the failure of this House to uphold, respect, and defend the South African Constitution.
Okay, that was the IFP and UDM Chief Whips. That's what they had to say about the motion to dissolve Parliament yesterday. Now, let's get into my guests today. Makashule, in football, they say when you can't win it on the pitch, you try it in the boardroom. So when Pirates can't win the league, they somehow, and this is not the real situation because Pirates will win the league this time around. You and I agree on that.
On that one, we'll agree.
Now,
yes.
But when you fail to win it on the pitch, do you try to win it in the boardroom, which is what the DA has been accused of doing, that you can't beat the ANC at the polls, but you want them out of office by any means necessary?
Thanks, Mpho, and afternoon to the viewers.
Yeah.
It's important to, if one uses your analogy, to describe what the pitch is, because what the DA is doing is not outside the Constitution. Mm-hmm. Not even once has the DA called for something that was outside the rules of engagement that we agreed to in 1996. So when we put a motion to dissolve Parliament, it's what Section 50 of the Constitution says. So you cannot say the only time that the political parties need to be involved in terms of the running of the country, it's only during election time. Because I can argue that the Parliament is an arena. It's a platform, it's a mechanism that we can use in a case where, as things we see in this country, our Parliament has become, our executive has become, that I think there's a need for a change in terms of the leadership that people elected, South Africans elected in 2014 to Parliament. And that's what we put according to Section 50.
So what are you saying? Are you saying, ANC, look, we are not so happy with this candidate of yours, no, not even a candidate, but with the incumbent. Can you give us somebody else? No. Section 50 that we put yesterday, it had nothing to do with the president. Obviously, you will have stepped down, but then it had to do with Parliament. So, because we are saying that Parliament as an institution is failing in its mandate to be able to carry South Africa forward. And that's why we put Section 50 motion in Parliament yesterday. And that includes you?
It includes us. That's what we're prepared to do, to say we are prepared to step down, all of us. We are saying Parliament must dissolve, South Africans must give the political parties and the representatives a new mandate with a fresh election, only for the National Assembly. This was not going to affect provincial governments and provincial elections, but this was going to affect the National Assembly.
And whilst you're doing that in Parliament, then on the other hand, you are in Braamfontein.
We are supporting that court case.
Yeah.
Because you see this thing.
That's why I'm saying,
the Constitution
Zuma must be out by any means necessary.
Zuma is a problem, and ANC is the problem. From where we are as a DA, Zuma is a problem that's carried by an ANC problem. And we want all of them to go. And we want the voters to give a new mandate to the public representatives in the National Assembly.
And then Cope, why should we trust that you mean it when you say you don't support the DA in Parliament, but you support them here in Braamfontein?
Well, first things first, as Congress of the People, we respect the will of the people. 11 million people voted for the ANC, and they gave him a mandate to carry for 5 years.
Yeah.
And second of all, the IEC, if you look at logistics, there is no way in 90 days they will be able to put together an election, particularly a general election. And we also have to be careful when it comes to the free and fairness of the elections once a snap election has taken place. Now, third of all, dissolving Parliament doesn't necessarily as well dissolve legislatures. I'm talking about the provincial legislatures.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the chaos. You dissolve Parliament, and then when we have elections in this country, we've got two ballots. We have one for province and one for national. Yeah. So now national is, dissolved, but legislatures are not. So you can just imagine the chaos that's going to happen. And so now as Congress of the People, we are saying no. We will respect the will of the people, the 11 million people that voted the ANC, and we are going in a fair and square manner going to 2019 and compete with the ANC, hopefully removing them from power.
Okay.
I need to say something. My colleague here says that having one ballot would be more confusing than having two ballots. So people who have one ballot for the National Assembly, the complexity. It says one ballot will cause a chaos. One ballot causes a chaos. We have by-elections in this country at the municipal level. There are municipalities that get 3 ballots.
Yeah.
And then when there's a by-election, people get 1 ballot. I've never seen a chaos. So what chaos? And then people cannot come here and say the cost of the election. When the Parliament is failing, the last thing that you should consider is the cost. You cannot say we must carry this failing thing just because it will be expensive. The IEC doesn't have money to call an election in 90 days. This thing is failing now. This thing is failing now.
A free and fair elections.
So why would it not be free and fair?
Well, because everything will be in haste. 90 days is not enough.
Who's going to make it not fair and free?
For example, there are fears that even in 2019, the election may be rigged. You can imagine when they
So you don't want to go to elections in 90 days because you fear the ANC will rig elections?
No, we respect the will of the people. The 11 million that voted the ANC, we are saying let them continue till 2019, and then we will contest the elections in a manner that all of us with the results will be satisfied with.
But what you're saying is not true.
Well, it is true.
No, it's not.
Okay.
You wouldn't be supporting the Bramfontein initiative.
No, but then you see, the Parliamentary issue it has nothing to do with the DA. The DA just jumped on our backs.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, then you are spearheading the Bramfontein process.
But then we want accountability. That's what we are there in Bramfontein for.
You want accountability,
Yes.
but what eventually you want is for the president to go.
Yes, definitely. We want him to. We didn't say the ANC.
You want to lead the process that will get him out.
Exactly.
Get him out and take the credit.
To remove. No, it's a collective.
Okay.
What do you call this?
I'll challenge that in a sec. Let's take Ntamo. Is it Ntamo?
Ntamer.
Oh, Ntamel. Yes. Welcome. Ngiyaphila njani baba?
I'm not surprised why the DA sent the outcast like Mafashule Ghana, who was not put in any position of responsibility within the DA. I don't mind. But the thing is, the hypocrisy of the DA was exposed. They wanted to subvert the will of the majority through devious means in Parliament. They know very well that in that so-called press conference that they called on the eve of the motion of no confidence, they actually exposed themselves that they actually wanted to get rid of the whole thing. That's what they said. Instead of the other two, the political parties were saying they were only interested in removing the president. But they went further and said they wanted to remove the whole thing. So how does that happen in this country where the majority of the citizens voted for the African National Congress to lead the country until 2019? So they wouldn't even wait for that time to win.
Okay, I get your point. Let's get Mokashule to...
Let me just say this. You know, the crafters of the Constitution did foresee that there will be an instance in this country that will have a delinquent like Zuma that's carried by the ANC. That's why they put mechanism in there to remove him. People like them have to be removed. If Parliament doesn't work, there's a mechanism. If the president doesn't work, we can use Section 102, vote of no confidence. If that doesn't work, we use Section 89, the impeachment, or we use Section 50 to dissolve Parliament. So the drafters of the Constitution had foreseen that it will not always be good men and good women that are elected to serve the Republic. Sometimes you have crooks and criminals that get elected to serve the Republic, and in that instance, there must be a mechanism to remove them. And that's what we are using. We are not doing anything that's untoward. We are doing what the Constitution calls on us to do as members of Parliament in the Republic.
Felix, you are in Nelspruit. Welcome.
Thank you for taking my call, Lumpo.
You're welcome.
Yes, I think we must begin to understand exactly what DA is doing. Because DA is the only party that is doing the right thing, actually.
Oh.
Let us take it critically. You see, the Constitutional Court declared that Jacob Zuma failed to uphold, respect, and defend our Constitution. That is the highest crime any human being can commit in any country. Actually, you don't deserve to be a citizen of a country if you cannot respect, uphold, and defend the constitution of that country. Now we have a rogue still parading himself as the president of a country. You ask yourself, with which document is he presiding? The same document he failed to uphold? It doesn't make any sense. We are in a state of a constitutional crisis right now. We actually don't have a president because the president failed to uphold our constitution. Okay. Therefore, the parliament must be dissolved and we have a fresh election so that the people themselves can decide. ANC is boasting that people voted for them. The same people are still there. They are not dead. Let the people vote and decide if they want such a rogue to continue to lead us. Okay. It's important, and DA is doing the right thing.
Felix, thank you very much for that call. Let me just get something from Cope here. The impeachment process, who has the constitutional mandate to decide on that?
Obviously, it's the National Assembly, the parties in the National Assembly, because Section 50 give them that right to. Section 89 give them the right to begin those processes in a manner that is according to the Constitution, which I agree with Mr. Ghana here that they have used the provisions of the Constitution to call for early elections. Section 50 of the Constitution, they effected it. However, we are saying that South Africans need to be given time. There's also voter education that is to be considered in a situation like this one.
Okay, let's go to Wise. Wise, welcome.
Good afternoon, Bo, and good afternoon to your guests. Look, Bo.
Yes.
We majority of South Africans, we agree that Zuma is corrupt. We agree that it's time for ANC to be taken out of power. But Bo, let me tell you this. You see, here in South Africa, I think I'm one of the people who understand DA very, very, very well. Look, Bo. DA, they are so desperate to the point where they can even use black people as fake leaders so that they can attract the majority of the people in this country to the DA. Look, Helen Zille, Tony Leon was sitting in the same parliament with Nelson Mandela. They never agreed with Nelson Mandela. Look today how they praising Nelson Mandela. I can understand Mmusi Maimane because Mmusi Maimane was the ANC. Julius Malema was the ANC. Floyd Chivambu was the ANC. Many leaders of COPE and other political parties were the ANC. How can Helen Zille and the DA praise Nelson Mandela, which they never even joined his political party? But today they are praising Nelson Mandela. You see that gentleman you have there, that Ghana there. One day they will also realize that they were used by DA so that they can have majority of people. You know, I told Deputy Mayor Mongabeli Bobani here, he was so passionate about being a deputy mayor, working with Atol Toli, blah, blah, blah. I told him straight, look here, one day you're going to see that the white supremacist, actually DA is controlled by the white supremacist. Okay. Now the man today, he's agreeing with me that, this DA consists of white supremacists. Even that gentleman Ghana there, you will, mark my words, let's wait for the few months. You will see one day that gentleman who has there, Ghana, will talk as Bobani. Those people are white racists. They can't even speak publicly about Helen Zille's statements. Why?
Okay. Thank you. Wise, thank you very much for the call. Yeah, then if that's the case, then it's taking you quite a long time to realize that you're being used. You've been in the DA for as long as I remember.
In Mpo, if people believe that one is being used and that function is to serve South Africa with integrity, then I welcome that badge. I'll wear that badge with honor. I'm in the DA to serve South Africa. I'm not in the DA to serve anyone else. Well, everything that I do is to serve South Africa. So if people say, no, I'm being used, and that function is to serve South Africa, is to make sure that this country prospers, and then no, I'll continue to wear that badge with honor.
But now, both of you, and let me start with you. If things are so bad, in South Africa and this need for change of leadership, why don't you do the same where you are governing? Because there are just as much challenges. I mean, well, you are not governing. You support them in the Nelson Mandela Bay, which has not been functional because of the tensions between the mayor, the deputy mayor, and that whole arrangement is struggling. Why are you supporting that type of an arrangement when it can be dissolved?
First of all, Congress of the People does not conform to the ideology of the DA. Number two, we are for the people. When we came out as Congress of the People, we warned South Africa about what is going on. We came out and said we will defend the Constitution. We came out and said we will fight corruption with every might we've got, and we will serve the people. So when we formed the coalition, our sole purpose is to ensure that the ANC is nowhere near the purse of the municipalities. And if it means that we partner up with the DA or any other political party, so be it.
Okay, hold it there. Let's take N is in the KZN quickly.
Hello.
Hi, welcome, N.
No, what I would like to know, all right, the way I saw the ANC did win in 2014.
Yes.
Why can't the opposition parties get together and say that, have another vote of no confidence, get together and say, look, if enough of the ANC voted with them, the ANC would have to step down, but they could step straight back up and Cyril Ramaphosa take over the leadership of the ANC until 2019. Is it possible?
Okay, and let's find out.
Obvious, Mpo, it's not for us to dictate who the ANC will put up. You know, when we say Jacob Zuma must go, and we said that very clearly, and we'll continue to say that. And now, as I said the last time I was here, that we used to have a Jacob Zuma problem in South Africa. Now, not only do we have a Jacob Zuma problem, we have an ANC problem. Because it's the people inside the ANC that are keeping Jacob Zuma there. So it's not for me to say, no, ANC, there's someone who's better than... It's not for me to do that. Okay. The ANC at this stage is failing this country. So everyone that's in there is part of failing this country.
Okay.
Actually, I just to answer the lady that just called, opposition parties are working together. It came as a shock and a surprise to us when the DA went to the media and called for early elections without consulting with the opposition parties, whom they are also with in a coalition with. So that as well to us also came as like we lied to the people when we said, no, we just want Jacob Zuma out. We don't want regime change. Suddenly now it looks as though that's what
Oh, so you didn't support it because you learned about it in the press briefing?
We learned about it in the press briefing, and we, as I said, we were very surprised. Because this needs a wide range of consultation. You consult with your coalition partners, you consult with the people that we are part of in a multi-party forum.
So you're not necessarily opposed to the end?
The end is 2019. That's where our eyes are focused on.
So even if you had gone to that meeting, you were not going to agree?
But then the principle is that you need to consult.
Why waste time consulting people whom you know that they are going to waste your time?
But anyway, then you see,
they will not agree with our plan to get this.
A partnership is about consultation as well. So you can't just out of the blue and then you tie us all in one.
So you are in a partnership?
Yes, in the municipalities that the DA govern.
So why then should it be important for you to be consulted nationally?
It's a courtesy thing.
Courtesy
and respect. You respect the people that you are working with. Because at the end of the day, they and us are focused on 2019. 2019, already the ANC is sitting at 47%. According to Ipsos Metono.
Mpo, something that's right does not become wrong just because it came through the window or it came through the back door. That which is right remains right. So if you agree that the ANC is failing this country, unless if...
So then what's the difference between them and the ANC?
Unless if what he's saying is that the ANC is doing better, it's only Jacob Zuma that's a problem. Maybe if that's what he's saying, then we differ.
No.
Because from where we are as a DA, the ANC and Jacob Zuma are doing bad for this country.
We agree with that.
So if you agree, then now we're saying, no, let's dissolve this thing. Then you say, no, we can't dissolve it because you announced it in the press conference.
Okay.
If the ANC tomorrow wants to say, we remove Jacob Zuma, that action is right.
We have run out of time. But I suspect you don't want elections because you know that you're not going to make it back.
Who said that?
I'm saying that.
Well, then it's you who's saying it. The South Africans at the end of the day are the ones that decide. It's not you or anyone amongst us here.
I'm putting it to you that my political analysis says you started at how many?
2009.
Yeah, I mean the number of MPs.
37 years. That's true.
And you have how many now?
We got 3. That's true. But then what I'm saying is every political party, even the DA, they started in a hall when they had the national congresses. Today, the same goes with us, same goes with the ANC and everyone else.
You start at the stadium and then you go to the hall to...
You start... we have something. We have something to...
No, it's fine. I understand your analysis.
No, just to say that what we did, it's in line with the Constitution, and we'll continue doing it.
And all right, that was question time for today. As you heard it, the COPE says, well, others start from the hall to the stadiums. We start from the stadiums to the halls, you know, going down. But yeah, that was question time. From me and the entire crew, have yourself a wonderful time. My records.
What guides us? What leads us forward? Is it leaders on a soapbox, spouting rhetoric for the crowd? Is it the actions of our people? Or the voices of our citizens? Your country is guided by the voices of its people. And your broadcaster is dependent on your voice to guide it. Get your copy of the SABC's editorial policy and have your say.
Meningitis is a potentially deadly disease